2019 is barely a month old, but these are just some of the worries that property investors may have to contend with already this year. Now, last year, real estate investors in Singapore saw property prices increase at a steady notch in the first few months before property cooling measures were brought in. But will it be regional or global events that impact Singapore and other cities this year? Well, to answer those questions, I'm pleased to be joined by Dr. Henry Chin, who's Head of Research for Asia Pac, Europe and the Middle East and Africa at CBRE. And that's certainly a very extensive portfolio, Dr. Henry. But you've just released this report for 2019, 37 pages long. What is the overarching theme when it comes to property?
Few issues I want to highlight here. People talk about geopolitical risk, but actually what matters to real estate market is nothing to do with the geopolitics. It's a matter to interest rates as well as real estate fundamentals. When you talk about interest rates, I think any movement by interest rate is going to have a profound impact on the real estate pricing and the strategy.
And will that profound impact paint the brush equally across all, sectors of property, whether you're talking residential, commercial office, retail, logistics? Does it affect everybody, or is it more of a bigger deal for sort of pricier properties?
I think it had a wider impact for commercial real estate markets, even including residentials. So that's why, because on the background of the rising interest rate environment, what we advise our client for 2019 is actually take profit for your early investments, because the cap rate is at a historical low on the pre-GFC levels. Take profit for early investments, and for your new investment, actually less on the cyclical investment, more on the structural changes.
It's been interesting. I mean, this has been well telegraphed that the Fed was going to, shift path towards normalizing of monetary policy as it get to neutral stance. And yet we saw some very big property deals around the world in the last few years, even here in Singapore, where, ticket prices for, office skyscrapers up towards the $1 billion mark. As interest rates continue to rise, will those deals see some of the asset values be pruned back in terms of, what their values will be on the books as interest rates rise?
It's a very interesting question. Actually, people see the commercial real estate market is like a stable income. So you can see a lot of mature institutional investors and the fund managers, they are looking for stabilizing core asset real estate to produce the stable income. And as a result, going forward, we think about investors just focusing on those defensive assets. Even going through a downturn, they're still going to provide you very, very good income returns.
Okay, let's talk about the disruption of tech and what it's done to brick and mortar retail. I mean, it's a perennial question that everybody seems to be asking as the younger generation, millennials and beyond that, Gen Z, they are consuming online. What is going to happen to the whole dynamics in the retail space? I mean, are people still going to be going to the malls? Is it really the logistics assets that are going to be prime investments?
It's a very good question, actually. And when we're looking at the retail and the logistics, what we are thinking about is omni-channels. Very, very different in Asia. I think retail is here to stay. We are social animals, Adam. We love to go to shopping center to wine and dine with our friends. So place making is a key term for our shopping centers. And then, but for logistics, it's definitely here to stay. But instead of focusing on or just go online to do shopping, nowadays people are focusing on the pricing as well as the speed. So modern logistics is very attractive.
All right, so here's the final question I've got for you, because, I mean, we are days away from, of course, the deadline of the trade war between the US and China, the truce that we struck for 90 days. And we've seen the ripple effects across the world, and everyone's saying the supply chains are going to be moving. I mean, is that an opportunity in the property space that you've observed? Is it even started?
It's absolutely. In the short term, we can see a lot of opportunities in Korea, in Taiwan, in Japan, reshoring the supply chain to those countries. But in the more medium terms, actually we see a lot of deals are happening in Southeast Asia. What people are buying the land, develop warehouses, as well as the logistics.
That sounds good for us here in ASEAN. Thank you, Dr. Henry. That was Dr. Henry Chin there from CBRE, talking to us about, of course, the opportunities and also the challenges that the property market may face in 2019.